Hello and welcome. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another week. I'm back in the studio today, so we're going to say hi to some people in the chat to start things off. I don't really have a plan today, as always, so if you have any questions, feel free to drop questions in the chat at any point, and we will chat about ATEM Mini, YoloBox, cameras, travel gear. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Always fun. If you do have a question, start with the letter Q in the chat, and that makes it easier for me to see it on my screen here. And yes, thank you all for joining. Yes, this is the worst 3 weeks of the year for scheduling meetings and stuff, because the US changed our clocks forward. Most of the US, not even all of the US, which is even more complicated, changed our clocks forward, but Europe hasn't yet, and Australia hasn't yet. And now it's just complete chaos as to who knows what time it actually is anywhere. So good luck scheduling meetings with anybody in other time zones for the next 3 weeks. Yes. So anyway, we will, I guess in 3 weeks, then Europe changes, and then it's back to the normal time there. And then, yeah. One of these days, we're just going to get rid of this whole shenanigans around changing our clocks, because it really just does not have a point anymore. But hey, Rich, I'm glad to see you here. I can make it do daylight savings time, taking this to 5 p.m. in the UK. I do think that I can't remember if it gets worse or better for Australia going this direction, because they also changed their clocks the other way from us, because it's, yeah, anyway. Yes, okay, great to see everybody. Oh, Carl from earlier in the chat said greetings from Thermal, California. Passed my FA Part 107. Fantastic. Congratulations on that. That's awesome. I have been also studying for mine still, although I've had to, my pace has slowed down a bit. I was doing a big push in January when I had some time off. Definitely slowed down my pace of studying, and I need to just get an appointment for the test set on my calendar so I have a date to work towards. And I think that'll help. I should probably just like schedule that right now for sometime in April when I know I'm not going to be traveling, and do that. But congratulations, it's a lot of material, that is for sure. So that's awesome. I realize I also don't have a lot of opportunities to actually fly the drone in Portland because of how close we are to the airport and how little, and they don't allow you to fly in city parks at all. So there's not a lot of places I can do that just around. And but I will be bringing it with me to Bratislava soon. And apparently there it's much more relaxed on the regulations of where you can fly and stuff. So hopefully I'll get a chance to play with it a little bit there and leverage the fact that I've already got the EU license through Finland. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Yeah, 4 a.m. is rough. It must be the Australia time zone. Oh, and Thomas is also here from New Zealand. Also a terrible time. I am sorry. I may also give some of you a chance to join at a time that is more friendly to that part of the world pretty soon here. So keep an eye out for a surprise stream being posted soon. We will see. We'll see what happens. So yeah, what have last week was a fun stream. Last week was a stream from the construction zone of that is the chaos of the house that's getting torn down, and the progress on that's been a little bit slow this week, but it's in a little bit more pieces now, and this is really going to kick off next week. So looking forward to watching that whole thing happen. But again, that's not the topic of this stream. That is for a different channel. So if you didn't hear my announcement last week, I have a new channel where I'm going to be posting exclusively content about the project of building out the triplex with hopefully at least one room for doing some videos in there. And that is a totally different channel. So here, I'm going to drop this in the chat again. Drop that channel in case you want to go subscribe to that. And we have so far one video up just sort of talking about the project. So, but more videos will be coming soon as soon as there is more progress being made on that project, which is looking like it's going to kick into high gear pretty soon here. Yeah. So, okay. What have we got in the chat? Anybody got any questions about streaming or ATEMs? Graham says another couple weeks before we switch time. Nutmeg Notebook says hello to you. Thanks for joining. David is here. David Joshua Ford from New York. Good to see you here. Well, let's see. I have been playing with the YoloBox a little bit more. Doing a couple of videos. I don't really like to talk about the videos that aren't done yet, but sometimes I do. But I've got some more videos coming out about that, which will be fun. And I've been filming a bit of content for that. So I've got I've got one. I've got it here on my desk. Been playing around with that, trying out some new things. I found a very, very weird Easter egg in this, which I don't think is intentional. It turns out that the YoloBox has a built-in microphone. That is something I 100% did not expect, and I found out by complete accident. So I plugged in the headphones to test out audio on this, and when I plugged in the headphones, I was like, oh, I'm going to go plug in the microphone. So the next thing I did was plug in the wireless mic receiver, but I only had it plugged in like this. I just had that cord, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go grab this and plug this in. If you plug in the wire into the mic jack, then it lets you turn on the microphone input, because it's like, oh, there's a mic plugged in. And if that's not plugged in, you can see that it just, it grays it out. So I yanked out the power cord. It grays out the mic input until you plug in, oops, that's the line, until you plug in a cord. And then it's like, oh, cool. Well, now we'll let you turn on the mic. And now there is a built-in mic in the YoloBox, because you'll start hearing audio now as soon as that's plugged in, which is a little bit surprising, to say the least. And then as soon as you plug this in, then it's like, oh, now we're going to use the real external microphone. So fun little Easter egg. And yeah, I don't know why that's in there. Do not know why. Sven says, early stream, hi from Munich. Hello to you. Yeah, you're going to change your clocks and then catch up to us pretty soon, but still have a couple weeks of the awkward time. Cliff says, can you talk about using OBS with the ATEM Mini Pro ISO? Yeah, I can. So there's a couple different ways you can use it. If you're talking about the Pro and the Pro ISO in particular, then that has the built-in streaming and built-in recording features. So you don't need the streaming or recording feature of OBS. And because of that, I think it doesn't make a lot of sense to like take the ATEM into OBS via the webcam output, just because then you're not really using any of the features of the Pro or the ISO features, which is the recording all the channels at once. And so like you can definitely makes sense to use the ATEM Mini into OBS, because then you get 4 inputs that you can switch to in OBS without any extra load on the computer, which is nice. So instead, I like to use it the other way around, which is feeding from OBS into the ATEM, because there is a lot more you can do in terms of graphics and getting video feeds from other sources into OBS compared to the ATEM, because the ATEM is obviously just HDMI in. And if your signals are not HDMI, then you have to convert them to HDMI to get them in. So, if you want NDI inputs or USB webcams or remote guests, all of that has to be converted to HDMI first in order to get into the ATEM. So that is something I think is a really good use of OBS with the ATEM. If you run HDMI out from your computer that is running OBS into the ATEM, then of course, it shows up like a second monitor. But there's a couple things you can do in OBS to make this work better. So this is my OBS right now, which is, you see this comment in here because that's the one this is actually feeding the stream right now. But if you go to, what is it? No, I'm trying to remember because I don't do it this way. There's I think I don't have two monitors plugged in right now, so that's why it's not showing me. I will do this with the screen mirroring. So if I connect a second monitor to my computer, I should be able to tell OBS to use the second monitor to output the video feed on the second monitor. That's what I'm looking for. And I don't remember where this is because I don't do it this way, which I'm going to talk about in a second. What is it? Multi-view, full screen, multi-view windowed. Is this what I want? This is cool. I did not know OBS has multi-view. I've literally never clicked that button before. Okay, so what I was trying to do was, now how do I get out of this? Now I've broken everything. Multi-view windowed. Let's get, nope. Okay, well, I'm stuck in this mode forever. The point is, I'm gonna have to find this at some point. There is a way somehow to be able to tell OBS to output whatever's in its program out one of your monitors. And that's different than like doing full screen on this, although full screen does sort of work. It's better to like have it take over the monitor. The way that I do it though is different, which is using a separate device to output. And that's the deck link output. So I have the Ultra Studio 4K Mini, which is a device from Blackmagic, Thunderbolt device that plugs into the computer, and then OBS can use that to output the video feed over that. And that way it's not one of the monitors plugged in. Because with the M1 Max, you can only have one external monitor right now. And this doesn't take up that monitor slot. So this is how I end up doing it. I use the Ultra Studio 4K Mini, sending the right frame rate. It's set to auto start, and then this keyer external feature means that it will output the transparency as a separate channel into that device. So that device has two SDI outs, and that way when I'm, for example, doing a web page, showing a web page, then this is not actually black on that video feed. It's actually doing a proper alpha channel. So at that point, anything you do with the oh, I just realized where my main window went. I just closed that. Okay. Anyway, at that point, anything you do with OBS, whatever shows up in this window, regardless of whether it's a browser source or pulling from other devices or other USB webcams or NDI feeds or whatever it is, goes over HDMI or SDI and can go into your ATEM. So I think that's a really good use for it. And that is how I've been using it for this stream for quite a while now. Now I'm going to go look at the chat and see how everybody is telling me how to get the full screen monitor to work. I think you right click on the video window that you want on the screen and the options in the context menu. Thank you. That is correct. That is super not obvious. And I do remember seeing that now. So if I go back to OBS and let's see, let's go grab a comment. Let's go grab a comment, and then we right click on this. Here it is, full screen projector, display one. So it doesn't see the Apple TV as a second display, unfortunately, but if I plugged in a second HDMI monitor, then it would show up. So that's the option I was looking for. It's under the right click menu. Super not obvious. I would have put that under, I don't know, view, where the multi-view option is, which is also in the right click menu. Or I guess it's not, but it just feels like it should be under view. Anyway, thank you for that. Let me get rid of my Apple TV mirroring so I don't confuse myself later. Cool. So, okay, what Eric says, what the heck? I don't know what that was about. Any other questions about OBS? Let's see. How heavy is OBS for mixing web page on the computer? Would an old MacBook Air suffice? I think it would. The web page. So the trick with the web page is there is a setting that I've recently checked that seems to be working a lot better. So when you go add the web page source, which is covered up by the comment, when you go add the web page source, in the options for it, can I open up the options? Yeah, in the options for it is this frame rate. If you don't set it, it'll kind of like adapt to whatever. So I've set it now explicitly to 30, and it seems to be working a lot better. So it does seem that now when I like show that, it slides in at a much better rate compared to what it used to be doing. It used to be a little bit choppy. And I have noticed that if my computer's been on for a long time, it definitely helps to reboot the computer and have it start from scratch in order to have it not be choppy. So that is what I've been doing for the web page graphics. It has helped. This is an M1. It's the one that's running on right now is the base model M1 Mac Mini. So the 8 gigs, which is definitely been a great device, but it's powerful because it's an M1, but it's by no means their top of the line machine anywhere close. So I have a feeling that it would probably work okay on an older MacBook Air as well. I actually do have one I could try it with, so maybe I will give that a shot at some point. Or I guess it's not the Air, it's the one that's just called MacBook. It's the 12-inch one. Okay, so any other OBS that I can get to here? Multi-view, yeah, cool. Okay, other topics. Did I watch the Blackmagic webinar? I don't know what Blackmagic webinar you are referring to. If you're talking about Photo Joseph's webinar he did last week, I did not watch it, unfortunately. But I have seen it in the past, and I think he's going to post it on YouTube later. When he did a full ATEM walkthrough, ATEM Mini walkthrough again. So, but yeah, I don't know what other Blackmagic webinar you're talking about. Do you still recommend the normal ATEM Mini? Is it possible to make super source? No, only the Extreme has the super source feature, which is still, in my opinion, one of the best features of the Extreme and why it is a very good investment. The original ATEM Mini doesn't have a super source feature. I still like it. It can still do a lot, but it definitely feels a lot more constraining compared to the Extreme. And so for this stream, I'm using the Extreme, and I've got all of my inputs plugged into it, and then the super source layout for the computer screen and all that. And it's especially useful for being able to record the 8 video feeds at once. I don't usually end up with actually 8, but I usually end up with around 6 that I'm recording and when I'm doing one of these more complicated edited videos. And the 4-channel ATEM Mini Pro, every time I go back to that and use it for something, I'm always like, oh, I wish I just had one more downstream key, or I wish I had one more upstream key, or I wish I had super source. But if you don't need all of that, then it's still a fantastic device, and the price is very hard to beat. So, yeah. Oh, here's a question about OBS. It looks like you can't use 2 Blackmagic Ultra Studio 3G monitors for key and fill, as OBS doesn't allow you to choose a second device for the key source. That is correct. I wish it did. I really wish it did. It would be very convenient, but no. The deck link output, which it's also works with Ultra Studios, not just deck links. Deck links are the card. But yes, you can only choose. Well, it supports 2, but it doesn't support 2 separate devices for key and fill. So it is expecting to send the key fill to 1 device. I have no idea if that's something they could change later in OBS, because it would be really nice to be able to use 2 of the super cheap little Ultra Studio monitors instead of having to do the full Ultra Studio. But yeah, that is one of the limits of it, unfortunately. Yeah, 2 of the minis are much cheaper than the Ultra Studio 4K. You don't need the 4K. The 4K is not necessary at all. So they do have a cheaper one, which is I think it's under here, capture and playback. Yeah, Ultra Studio HD Mini should work also, because it does have let's try to look at the back panel. There it is. It does have the A and B SDI outs. So that's only $500, which is a lot better than the $1,000. And as long as you don't need like the HDMI in and all the other stuff that you get on the bigger one, this would work totally fine as well for that. And $500 is reasonable. Obviously, the monitor 3G at 115 ends up being $230 for 2 of them. It would be nice because that's half the cost. But the other downside about the Ultra Studio monitor, the tiny one, is you need 2 Thunderbolt ports for it, because it is Thunderbolt, not USB-C. And yeah, it is Thunderbolt only. And you'll need to use 2 Thunderbolt ports, which sometimes is a challenge to find on some of these computers. So, Cyber Shadow says it could be hard to synchronize key and fill if they come from 2 sources. Yeah, that is very possible as well. This is a rabbit hole of a question. What would you say is better for streaming, Windows or Apple? I am going to Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with Roland here. Neither stream from an ATEM. I agree. I think that the I think that the so about Windows versus Apple, I think they're neither of them are great solutions for actually streaming from, in my opinion. I just don't like doing it that way. I know plenty of people have had good success with it. Great, go for it. I much prefer using a streaming device that is a dedicated device and putting together all the pieces to make it work. So, for example, if something goes wrong, it's harder. It's usually harder or takes down more stuff if it's on a computer. So right now, if, for example, my web presenter, which is doing the encoding for this stream, which I'm looking at on this monitor in front of me, if I see that it is offline or just shut down for some reason, whatever, if something goes wrong, I still have the rest of the stuff running, right? Like I can still switch cameras, I can still do most of the show, which means I can recover a lot faster, because what I could do is, for example, switch to streaming into the YoloBox. Like I've got my cameras fed into the YoloBox right here, so I could just switch and start pushing from here to YouTube. Or I have some other little RTMP encoder in the rack there, and I could just switch that and push to YouTube pretty quickly. And it wouldn't be like if it was on a computer, if I was using vMix or Ecamm or any of those, and the computer crashed, then everything is gone. The whole thing is just gone. And the only way to recover is a full reboot and completely offline until then. So I like being able to have individual pieces fail and be able to swap them out on the fly if I need to instead of having everything just go down. But as far as Windows versus Apple, I am definitely more of an Apple guy. Like definitely prefer Apple devices. One of the reasons is I don't know how people deal with this. Is there a secret that I don't know about? But I cannot seem to get Windows machines to not force themselves to auto update at really inappropriate times. Like they will force updates on you and they'll just randomly restart. And I do not want that to happen in the middle of a stream. And I can't seem to find a way to actually prevent that from happening. So that is that's why I don't trust Windows for that kind of production work. If there's a secret I don't know about, I would love to find out, because sometimes, there is something on a Windows machine that I do want to use, and I would love to be able to make that work better. So I just have not figured that out yet. Christopher says, one time my computer was fine, but OBS died and it automatically ended the stream. It was a nightmare. Right. So that's another really good point. So I'm using OBS right now for this, right? But it's just doing the chat. And if I need to restart my computer, because I think I did that 2 weeks ago or something. Like I had a problem with the computer and I was like, I'm just going to restart this, because like this is just a disaster. It is, I don't remember what it was. It was like super laggy or something. And it was fine. I just restarted my computer and the stream stayed up. I was able to keep talking. I just couldn't show comments on the stream because that was being run through the computer. But that's actually another tip for YouTube streams, though, which is in the stream settings, there is this checkbox called auto stop. And if that is checked, and what happens is at some point after YouTube stops receiving data, they will actually end the video. And once they've ended the stream, there is no way to go back to it. So like this video has a video ID, right? There's the thing in the URL, which is the video ID, and that exists. I've created the stream scheduled for this date with the title and thumbnail and all that. And before I go live, it exists and you just see the placeholder content. And then after, speaking of computer crashing, it's now not responding to my mouse, which is wonderful. Or keyboard. Lovely. I did too much with it. I made it work too hard, zooming in on that screen. We may get to see this in action. So, oh, there it goes. It just caught up. Wow. Oh my God. Okay. This is awesome. Anyway, with the way that the video works is when you have that ID, like it can be started, and once you start pushing video to it, it will you can't like pause. It'll just once you end it, that's it. That's the end of it. So if auto stop is checked, then as soon as they stop seeing video pushed to the stream, they will end the stream, and then there is no way to get it back, and there's no way to push to it again. And that can be really problematic when you're doing a live show, because then you have to get your viewers onto a new URL. So, you know, you can like drop a link in the chat, you can send out an email to your list or whatever it is, but good luck getting everybody back into the new URL. So I never turn on auto stop, because if my encoder fails, I want to be able to switch to a different encoder and continue pushing video to it. That's the reason. Yeah, okay. People are telling me about how to use Windows. This is good. So TVJ says I use Windows Pro, never had it reboot. I don't think I have the Pro version, so that could be one of the differences. There is a function in the Windows Update section that turns it off for automatic reboot and will download the updates and wait for you to say when to install and reboot. I think I have checked that, and it just seems very aggressive about reminding me, and the little pop-up is always there saying like, oh, you have updates to install. And then it also prevents you from restarting the computer without also installing updates, which is also frustrating. And okay, then there's an active hours feature, which I don't remember if I've set that one, so I could check that. And then there's always the pause Windows update for 7 days option, which sounds not great. Yeah. Oh, Christopher says, yeah, worst nightmare if it was a pay-to-view stream. Right. If you're embedding the YouTube stream on some other thing that you've gated for payment, then yeah. Cyber Shadow says, yeah, it's totally possible to stream from PCs, but you have to make sure to have a PC that's built for reliability. Right. And at that point, you're going to spend quite a lot of money, which is, if you like that kind of thing, fine. I just would rather spend the money differently. Along these lines, Patrick says, any recommended iOS apps to do lower thirds and possibly to bring in the chat? I want to be able to stream from my ATEM Mini Pro and not rely on a computer. It's a tricky one. Not relying on a computer at all is definitely a challenge for dealing with the chat from the stream, just because I don't know of any apps that have built-in support for YouTube chat that can then output it somehow, which would be a cool feature for an app. But there is one thing that you kind of can do as a hybrid, which is the, I don't have a, oh, I can do it through the Apple TV. So the app, LiveApp, the one that lets you like draw on this and overlay it. In fact, let me do that. So if I screen mirror to my Apple TV, then I can, yeah, so I can get that into my ATEM. So you can see my little squiggle is in the Apple TV, one of the input 4. And then if I turn on the key for that, I probably have to set that up. I don't think I had that set up right. But if I go over to, what is it, Upstream? Yeah, Upstream key, let me switch this over to Apple TV. And then let's turn that on. Okay, so now you've got my squiggle is drawn over the stream, right? So as I'm drawing on the iPad, I can have that show up on the stream itself. This looks better when it's white, when it's in pre-multiply mode. Anyway, that's the draw tab. But the overlay tab lets you create graphics and images, load in images and load in graphics and stuff into these little slots and also get output that way. One of the tricks is that you can actually add a, let's see, edit, add, so you can see I can add either from the photo library files or browser. So I've actually got my browser source loaded into here. And if I do that, it's actually outputting on the stream now. Well, what is this browser source? It's the same one that's doing the chat for the stream. So let me turn off the OBS output. So I'm going to go in here and let's just like hide that. So now if I if I click on a chat message, where was the, here was that one. So this is, you can see I've got the keying set wrong. Oh, it's kind of neat. This is being output from the iPad now. So if I show you what's on the iPad, notice that it's got the little comment there. And if I click the hide chat, it goes away, and I can show it again from my computer. So this is being rendered in the iPad and then output over AirPlay. Now, for this, I would probably actually want to go and like do the adjust the key to not be pre-multiplied. So let's go fix that. There we go. Adjust the clip and the gain, and that looks better. So this is now being rendered from the iPad. Mine is going over AirPlay right now, but you could plug in an HDMI cable into the ATEM if you have a cable and don't want it to be wireless. And then anything you can get into a browser source now can be rendered from the iPad. So where am I going with this? Well, okay, this is my chat plugin, so this doesn't quite work for you because it requires a computer. But there are a lot of other tools, web-based tools for creating graphics that end up as web pages. So H2R graphics is one of them, for example. I could add the H2R graphics window into the iPad as long as it's on the same network and all that. There's like Singular Live and the a handful of other ones. Or if you just like, if you are a web developer, then you can write your own web pages to show graphics that way, which is pretty cool. This app is called LiveApp, and let me try to grab the link because it's a little bit hard to Google. Oh, okay, I think I found it. The link is, I don't know why the page is loading so slowly. Come on. It's called LiveApp Instant Video App. The ironic part is that the web page is anything but instant. I don't know why it's loading so slowly. LiveApp Instant Video App iTunes. Let's just find it on the App Store. There we go. Oh, that's not the right link at all. Oh my God. See, okay, LiveApp is not the best name. Here it is. This is the one. Ignore the link I just put in the chat. I'm going to put the right link in the chat now. Yeah, LiveApp was probably not the best name for this. But here is the actual app. This is the icon you should be looking for. It is a $40 app. They did send me an evaluation copy for this. So it is pretty cool. It has definitely got a lot of cool features. The browser overlay is super cool. But they've also got the ability to do like video file queuing and things like that. So clearly it's made for the ATEM. It also can actually control some of the ATEM, so it is able to like go and configure the keying settings itself and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, the browser feature for the chat is definitely interesting. Pretty cool trick. Yeah, so so like I was saying, oh, right, this is still coming from the iPad. That's funny. It looks fine. It looks totally fine. One of the challenges of any of these browser source graphics is actually then controlling them. So like this, there's obviously no control in that browser. Like it's not a browser you can interact with. It's just showing the web page on the stream over HDMI. And then you have to control it somehow. But you can control it from another iOS device or a computer. And I don't really mind using a computer for that, because a computer just to control the graphics, which is actually like what I'm doing right now, where I'm going through the comments on the computer screen that's in front of me, and that is sending commands out to the web page to show and hide these messages. I don't mind using a computer for that, because that computer is not on the air, and if it crashes, it's easily replaceable with something else, like a phone or another computer. And again, with web page graphics, there are probably other tools that you can automate through things that are not a computer. So yeah. Here's two that I haven't heard of. Flowix or SPX are also good alternatives for browser graphics. So yeah, any tool, if you'll find a lot of these will say like it's a browser source, like that's how the graphics get rendered, and then you can use it with an iPad, which is pretty cool. Mind blown with a browser source overlay. It's a cool trick for sure. So, okay, what else? What else have we got? Oh, let me switch back to the other chat, the other graphics, just so I don't totally get lost. Okay. Let's scroll back up a little bit, since I've kind of been skipping through some of these. Is there going to be a triplex time-lapse demolition and new build? Absolutely. Absolutely. I am going to be doing time-lapse. I've actually got all the cameras set up right now. I moved all my cameras around, all the Unify cameras out there, to get better angles for that. And I have it set up to, I have a whole thing set up to archive and do time-lapses just automatically. So every minute it takes a snapshot during daylight hours. And then at the end of the day, converts all that to a video file, and then uploads that to my NAS. And then for just full archiving purposes, I also have, it's grabbing 15-minute chunks from each camera and saving those as an individual video file, doing that for daylight hours, and at the end of the day, archiving those again to the NAS. So I've already got like hundreds of gigabytes of video just because it's doing this every day. But that way I can always go back and pull videos from that to actually to use in videos when I'm actually talking about the project later. Does YoloBox support streaming 9:16 vertical? No, it does not. I'm looking at it right now. No, there's nothing in here that can do that. You know what was funny is I was actually trying this the other day because when I was filming the Instagram video, I was like, I was filming it vertically for Instagram. So it's this one. And for this one, I was like, I need to post a vertical video. So I need to shoot everything vertically, but obviously all my cameras are not vertical. So I was rotating all the cameras. And as I was rotating them, sometimes I wanted to be able to see what the camera, like how it was framed, but I couldn't look at the camera itself. Like, for example, all these shots of, the camera's pointing at me. I wanted to see, am I in the shot? Have I framed it right? So I needed it on a monitor over here. And then on the monitor over here, it's sideways. And I was like, well, this is really hard to see what's going on. Like, I can't really tell if it's framed right because I can't rotate it in my head. And what I ended up doing was actually using OBS for this because OBS can rotate 90 degrees. So in OBS, I actually had, look, it's already here. This is probably going to do something. Okay, the video capture device is not connected. Yeah, so it is connected. There's no video going into it. So I have a separate capture card running into the computer, this AV Matrix one, and I was able to then feed that capture card with the camera that I wanted to use, or maybe it was even just the ATEM Mini out. And then that is in the scene. Let's see, it's probably not because there's no video going into it. What is that plugged into? What is going into that? I don't remember what is feeding it. Let's see, what else can we grab? We could grab, I don't want to grab the web presenter. That's going to be what's going to happen if I do this? Probably bad things are going to happen. No, okay, I don't want to, I'm going to break everything if I try this. Anyway, the point is, once you have a camera set up like this, then you can actually go and rotate it. So I think it's under filters. And then, okay, it is grabbing the web presenter, so we're getting the tunnel vision. And where is it? Effects, scaling. No. Oh man, how did I do it? I didn't. This happens when I don't plan ahead. So it is grabbing the web presenter. So we are seeing me in there, and then transform. There we go. Rotate 90 degrees. So I can rotate the whole video, and now this is the vertical video at the right size, which then I can output over the Ultra Studio back into one of these monitors on the table here. And that worked out great. So that was the only thing I could think of that would let me actually rotate the video properly. Anyway, why was I talking about that? That was a tangent. Oh, because the question was about rotating videos, so it wasn't a tangent. So actually doing a stream that way, you could do that through OBS, but and because OBS can do whatever aspect ratio you want, and then do the rotation there. Yeah. I don't know what's plugged into this. That's when you know you have a lot of twice. Well, it's also it's behind the rack, so I can't even see it. It's behind one of those screens. I think it's plugged. I don't know what's plugged into it. I don't know. Yep. Okay. Other questions? What's the best way to get multiple monitors out of a Mac M1 external video card with a dongle life? I've only used the M1 Mac Mini and the M1 laptop, and the laptop only supports one external monitor. The M1 Mac Mini has an HDMI port, and then it can do one other external monitor. I haven't ever actually tried to get more monitors connected to it, so I've heard people have good luck with like the USB based external monitors rather than like the DisplayPort style. I don't know for sure. I've never actually tried it because I've never actually cared enough to try. I really only use 2 monitors here at most, because one is like the main computer that I'm looking at, and then the other one would be for like slides that I'm showing on a stream or something like that. And that's really the extent of how I've been using these. And when I'm doing video editing at home, I have like a really wide monitor. It's like a ultra wide 34-inch or something, so it doesn't work for sharing that onto the stream because it's the wrong aspect ratio. But even that is just one. I have the laptop screen, and then that is the one external monitor, and that's how I mainly just edit off of the one screen. So that's, yeah, I just don't plug in 3. Rob says, would you mind showing us what your main camera sits on? Mine is above my monitor, which always means I'm looking up at it. I prefer to look right down the lens. I am using a teleprompter for this, which is why I'm looking at myself right now and looking into the camera. Let me see if I have this camera. I can probably point at that. Let's see if I can get this to work. I think this one's plugged into the rig. Yeah. So this is what I'm looking at right now. And oh, wait, that was interesting. Oh, the LiveApp is doing some things. Let me how do I turn off autoplay? There we go. Okay. LiveApp was taking over the control of the ATEM. Anyway, this is what I'm looking at right now. So that is the teleprompter that you can see what's on the stream in it. So we're again getting tunnel vision, but that's showing me the web presenter status, so you can see the data rate, and well, the on air is not, it's hiding in the corner. There's the on air, and that's just a nice confidence monitor, so that I always know the stream is on and like what's on the stream. I don't have this for the desk, so when I do when I do things at the desk, I don't have a camera on that one. Let's see, this one I can probably just spin around. Close enough. So this is what my desk looks like with the 2 monitors, and you can see the camera is right above the monitor. So the camera at the desk is just barely above my eye level. So when I'm doing stuff at the desk, which is mostly the workshops that I do where I'm teaching, I do often look at the camera, straight at the camera, which is slightly above eye level, so it doesn't look like I'm looking up. So it's barely above the computer screen. And then when I'm like using the computer screen, because I'm you know, doing demos or whatever, or reading my slides, it barely looks like I'm looking down. It looks like about like this, I think. So I'm looking slightly down compared to where the camera is right now. So it's not too far off. Definitely not perfect. And my challenge with that setup is I haven't been able to figure out a good way that isn't really bulky for putting a teleprompter in that setup. I may have to just switch to a tiny teleprompter and a tiny screen instead of my 10-inch. It'd be too small for using as a computer screen, like to actually read stuff on it, but it might be good enough for at least putting a zoom window on. Yeah. Okay, other questions in the chat. Is there a way for the chat messages to auto clear from the screen with your chat plugin? If not, feature request. Oh, that's a good feature request. It doesn't do that right now. It is only manually cleared. I could definitely add that though. Add an option to just auto clear after 5 seconds or something. Good idea. If you tilt the camera lens downward slightly, you can leverage the parallax effect so you look just below the lens at the screen and you're still making eye contact. Tilt the camera lens down. I can't quite picture this. I think that is how mine is set up. I don't know if you can tell. It's pretty dark in there. But let's see if I can brighten this up. The camera, there we go. So the camera, that's as far as I can zoom. The camera is tilted ever so slightly down, which is why from that angle you see the more of the floor. And I think it works out. I think it works out pretty well. Oh, this is a thread carrying over from John's Discord. Good suggestion though. I've been trying to get my Mac to auto log in because when I'm not in the studio, if I need to reboot the Mac, I just want it to come back and have OBS running without me touching anything. And I did get the auto login feature enabled, and you have to go and turn on. I'm trying to find it in the settings. Right, it's in like the users and groups tab, and there is a section in here, login options. There's the automatic login. Let's see if I can. So one of the downsides is when you turn this on, you lose the ability to use Touch ID to do things like Apple Pay and stuff from it. So if when you turn it on, it warns you. Automatically log in. You have to type your password, which is interesting. And then here's the message. It'll disable Touch ID and remove Apple Pay cards from this Mac. So what's interesting, though, is that it doesn't seem to actually disable Touch ID entirely. It just disables Touch ID for certain things. So it's still got my fingerprint, and I can still use it for unlocking one password, I believe. Let's see if that is the case still. No, already unlocked. But anyway, it seems to let me still use it for certain things. But and then I did reboot. I did reboot this, and it auto logged in. But so far in my testing, if the power is cut without a proper shutdown, then it doesn't log back in. So I need to figure this out. I need to figure out if there's like if it didn't save the setting properly because I yanked the power, or what's going on. But the suggestion of using an Arduino to actually type in the login password is clever, which I may have to rig up because that sounds like fun. Rich says, I discovered the Lilliput FA1016, which I purchased with the glide gear based on your setup. FA1016 is cheaper A11 without scopes for $300, same case and screen. Oh, that's fantastic. That's really good news. Yeah, I've been using that A11 monitor for a while, but it's not cheap, and I really don't use it for anything except the monitor. So this is great. FA1016. That is... Oh, it's even cheaper. Lovely. This is... Let me find the link. Maybe I should get one of these for the desk then, and try to actually set up a proper teleprompter over there. This is the Lilliput 10-inch monitor. My computer is just being really slow right now. I am asking it to do too many things at once. So yeah, this is why I don't. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. I need to go pull up the chat on another device because it's really bad. It's really bad. Yeah, maybe if I spent $3,000 on better computer hardware, I may not have this problem. Am I excited about spending $3,000 on a computer just to discover what problems I have? No. Clifford has a good suggestion, which is, oh my god, they're not even showing up on the screen. OBS is now also taking a turn. Maybe you need to reboot the Mac after setting the login option at least once. Oh, my computer decided to restart itself. And I'm at the login screen and there's no auto login. I did not plan that. If you notice there was like the picture color of this video changed briefly. That's because as soon as OBS lost control of the Ultra Studio, the Ultra Studio output's not quite black, which is interesting. So yeah, that's awesome. I don't know why my computer just crashed, but at least it took care of that problem. Let's go back and try to see. Yeah, see, and auto login is in fact turned on. And Touch ID just asked me to unlock one password. So why didn't it work? I don't know. Let's do it again. Let's reboot the computer and see what happens. Hopefully now that it's rebooted properly, it'll... Oh, I'm going to get the little overlay again. So yeah, see how it got a little bit washed out because the Ultra Studio is no longer being controlled by OBS. So it's outputting something that's not quite solid black. Oh, I heard the chime this time. That's interesting. So, yeah, Christopher says, you were saying about the reliability of streaming using computers. Well demonstrated here. Okay, it did auto log in this time when I did a proper restart. So, not super happy about that because what I would like to be able to do is cut the power with my remote power switch and then have it just come back in case, for example, this happens and I need to reboot the Mac and I'm not in the studio. So gonna have to solve that problem, but it's gonna be a while before I can. But yeah, good thing, like, you know, the stream is still on. Computer crashed, stream is still going, score 1 for the dedicated hardware. And I did, as you saw, lose the chat overlay because that was being driven by the computer. But hey, yeah. Sven says, running an unlocked computer And even saving the password in a microcontroller is making me nervous. I agree. It's not the best from the security point of view, but it is none of the stuff in none of the other video gear in here is good from a security point of view either. There's a lot of just open ports on the network, so I'm not terribly worried about it. It is because it's not a laptop. Like I would not do that on a laptop, because if you do it on a laptop, then if you lose your laptop, somebody else can just use it, which is not great. But for a machine that lives in a studio, I'm relying obviously on the physical security of the room for a lot of things already. I don't think an auto login computer is adding particularly to the risk. Roland says, I do as much of my actual computing on the iPad Mini because it's rock solid. I like the MacBooks, but love the simplicity and reliability of the iPad. I agree. I've been using the iPads for a lot of stuff. The one thing that I get frustrated with continuously is how hard it is to use multiple apps at a time. So I tend to not use it for that kind of stuff, which is not really what it's designed for. And yes, you can side-by-side apps, of course, but it's not the same. And especially if you are doing a lot of like quick copying and pasting between apps, it can get really cumbersome on an iPad. So yeah. Okay, now try power off and see. Sure. The auto login not working when power is cut could be a feature. Imagine someone came in and just grabbed all your stuff in a hurry. Right, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things in here that I don't want to get stolen that would be useful if they were stolen. And I feel like the computer, I just want it to auto log in. So I agree it would be bad if it was stolen, but yes. We can, in fact, try this right now. Let me go and grab my power switch. So here, we'll do this live. Why not? Here is the very lovely 90s webpage that is built into the power switch I've got, and I've got my Mac Mini plugged into one of them, so I can click reboot, and it will cut the power to the Mac, wait 6 seconds. Where is that configured? That was configured somewhere. The delay of the reboot is configured somewhere in here. I forget where. Wait 6 seconds and then power back on. So let's give it a shot. I'm sure this is very good for my computer. Let's click reboot. Here we go. There it goes. The computer went black. I heard the snap. You can obviously see the monitor went dark. So is it going to even turn back on is the question. Because this is what I'm going to have to do when I'm not here. Okay, it is booting, which is good. And is it going to log in? Oh, interesting. Okay. Progress. Maybe it did just need a proper restart and auto login right once, and now it'll work. That is exciting. That is good news. Let me get my tabs back. Hopefully it stays that way, because I don't have a lot of options once I'm not in the studio. Yeah, holy 1990s. Is OBS? Oh, OBS didn't save the scene it was on. That's interesting. Probably have to quit OBS once it's on the right scene also. What could possibly go wrong? Yes. You can have it auto log into a Scratch account which isn't authenticated to any of your important data stores, applications, and sites. That's probably a good idea. I probably should do that. Make a dedicated user on this that where I only run OBS and it's not an admin user. But yeah. Can you put the ATEM on a network using an Ethernet cable into your cable router instead of USB? Absolutely, and I definitely highly recommend doing that. The only reason I would connect it over USB is, one, if you need it as a webcam, and two, if you don't want to deal with network settings to be able to control the ATEM. But as soon as you want to stream from the ATEM, it has to be on the network anyway. So I often don't have a USB cable plugged into mine at all at this point, because you can do everything over the network. Because you can even update the firmware over the network now as well. So I definitely recommend plugging in an Ethernet cable into the ATEM. Xair. Oh, did you see the little Xair app load up? Yeah, it's it is the app that controls the audio mixer, the rack audio mixer, XR or MR18. Oh no, Coffee says, I have to ask and I'm curious. Is it not true that a lot of these are alleviated by using services like StreamYard and Ecamm? Somewhat, yes. I would say not Ecamm. Ecamm is it's software that runs on your computer, and the stream is initiated from your computer then. And then but things like StreamYard or Restream Studio or anything that is of those web-based solutions where your computer is really just joining it as a guest, that does definitely eliminate some of the concerns and some of the problems. So if you're in StreamYard and you have like guests in StreamYard or something, or let's say it's just you, if you wanted to run only your own stream in StreamYard, your camera is joined. They actually added a new feature that lets you share multiple cameras into it from one computer, which is very cool. If your computer crashes, you drop out of the stream, but StreamYard will still be streaming. So if you have any graphics on the screen or whatever, they're being done in the StreamYard cloud. So the stream won't cut out in that case, and it also means that the stream is not being mixed on your computer. You're only sending a video feed up to their cloud. So that does reduce some of the concerns, eliminate some of the concerns around like, do you have a big enough, powerful enough computer? What happens if your computer crashes and things like that? Obviously, it's not perfect because if your computer crashes, then your video gets dropped as well. Whereas, as we demonstrated today here, when my computer decided to just crash, then I still have video and audio because it's not running through the computer. I just lost the chat overlay. But good question. Felix says, unfortunately missed the hour earlier. Catching up now. Can I send greetings to my future self? Please do. Please do. Philip says, only downside with using a cloud service like StreamYard is that you don't have local recording of the program feed like you get with the ATEM in case of internet outages. Also true. Definitely pluses and minuses to both. I will say the StreamYard and Restream Studio are they're great because of how easy they are to get going, and still absolutely the easiest way to do multi-person live streams. So from multiple locations, it's a lot more work to do that, even in OBS. Even though Video.Ninja is amazing, it's still a lot more work doing it in OBS or with an ATEM. So StreamYard is fantastic for that. Clifford says, great, power reset worked. I'm 3:45 behind now. Yes, it looks like that worked. I'm going to probably do a couple more tests of that just before I leave today to make sure that's consistent. But so far, so good. Philip says, are you planning on buying or have you already ordered the new Mac Studio from Apple? I don't think so. I'm on the fence about it. It ends up being kind of expensive, and I'm not sure I actually need that for this machine. Obviously, I've had problems with this, and I don't know how much of those are due to the hardware or the software, because Mac OS does have bugs, and those bugs would probably also be in the Mac Studio. So hard to tell how much of like the random crash just now or other stuff is due to the hardware. And yeah, that's why I'm like not super thrilled about running into the same bugs and having also spent $3,000 on a machine. So yeah. What do you think of that Apple monitor with the built-in A14 and a camera from the last iPhone line? That is a cool. I saw that. A lot of people were saying that it like has iOS in the monitor, which I feel like is a little bit misleading because it has the A14 chip, or maybe it was the A13. It was one of the iPhone chips. But it seems to me that what that's doing is it's dedicated to running the camera the way that it runs in the new iPad and iPhone of the auto tracking, like auto crop stuff, which is definitely cool for that. But I don't think it's general purpose iOS, because that would be just weird. A lot of people were writing that in the articles I was reading. Seems like a cool feature though, like a cool idea. A little dedicated sub processor for the camera, because that also means that your computer isn't doing the work of dealing with the auto crop feature and auto tracking feature. Some of the other webcams you can get that have that kind of stuff do rely on software running on the computer to do that processing, which then takes CPU from the computer, which is not great. Yeah. Oh, Sven says you should do a repair in disk utility after all these power cuts are finished. Probably a good idea. What's the best way to record the video feed of a normal ATEM Mini, since the Blackmagic Video Assist 3G is more expensive than the ATEM Mini? I mean, the Blackmagic Video Assist is probably the best way, but are you asking about the best way or the cheapest way? Because there's a difference. I think it's going to be hard to find a recorder for $200. And the reason I say $200 is because the price difference between the ATEM Mini and the Pro, which has the recording feature, is $200. And if you spend $300, you get the base ATEM Mini. If you spend $500, you get the one that can record to USB drives. I think there's only a couple of HDMI recorders that are anywhere near the $200 price point. So I might suggest, if you are wanting to record it, to upgrade to the Pro. Because that's probably the cheapest way. If you can sell the ATEM Mini and then put $200 towards the Pro, it's probably the cheapest way. But the best way, I talked about this on my last video actually, and did some demos of the quality difference. The Video Assist and like the Atomos recorders are going to record in formats, or HyperDeck 2 actually, can record in formats that are much higher quality than the USB recording you get in the ATEM Mini Pro. So do you need the best, or do you just need good enough? And I err on the good enough side, which is why I do all the videos I've done this year now on my channel have been recorded in the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO to USB. So, yeah. Oh, Eric, thank you for the super chat. M1 Mac Mini has been running for a while in the setup, in this equipment, config, and routing. It's been a lot of live streams without crash and reboot, so I blame software. It's true. I did upgrade this to Monterey recently, so it's very possible that there are bugs in that, and that could have been what's causing all this. So hopefully that means it's getting fixed soon too, but in the meantime, kind of unfortunate that I'm having these problems. But yes, thank you for the super chat. What else can I get to in the chat? We just blew right through the hour. Wow. Okay. Gonna go only for a little bit longer. Patrick says recording the ATEM Mini Pro has been awesome. Also, thanks for your video on grabbing the files straight off the ATEM via FTP. Yeah, I've been enjoying that workflow for sure. It's also really great for doing quick tests of like record a brief clip and then you just want to preview it really quick and you don't want to yank drives around and stuff. So yeah. Let me skim through some of the rest of the chats here. Oh, here's one from Patrick. If it doesn't auto log in, you should still be able to SSH in and do a reboot from the command line. I tried this. It seems like the SSH server doesn't run until it's logged in. I have not been able to SSH into the computer until I log in. Also, remote desktop doesn't seem to work until I'm logged in, which I feel like is backwards. This was at least my panicked tests when I was trying once. So maybe I am incorrectly diagnosing the problem. But when I was at one point trying to like get into the computer remotely, it was not working and nothing. Yeah. Anyway. Professor says, I was hoping I could get your help on my stream so I don't have missed frames or skip frames and no drop frames for my network, but when I turn my camera fast, it becomes blurry. Okay, two things. This is another very excellent reminder of one of the other problems with streaming from computers instead of dedicated hardware. If your computer is not fast enough, it will start dropping frames. And OBS even has like this built into the interface of like, they know that it's a problem. So where is it? Oh, it's not showing it because I don't have any drop frames. I'm not doing anything terribly intensive with OBS right now, so it's fine. But I think it shows up down here, down in the bottom corner. Like it's showing me my CPU usage, which you can see is only 6%. So that's because all it's doing is a web page, not any actual video camera stream processing. But yeah, it'll start showing you drop frames. But this is another good point. Like this is why I like dedicated encoders like the web presenter that I'm using right now, which is if there's a drop frames, it's only a network problem. It's not a CPU problem because there isn't the CPU doesn't work the same way in that compared to like, on a computer. It's not fighting for resources. So that's why I like dedicated hardware. Second, about your camera, that's a whole different issue. If you turn the camera fast, it gets blurry. That is possibly actually a good thing, but depends on what you're shooting. Let me get this camera lined up so I can demonstrate. Oh, I'm way overexposed on it because I was trying to show the other. There we go. So where is it? This one. If I go back and forth really quick, you can see it is a little bit blurry. And it's also doing a little bit of the rolling shutter where the vertical lines are not vertical anymore. Sorry for the motion sickness. But the blur is based on the shutter speed. So this is set to 1/60th, which is what you want for the sort of 180-degree rule, which is if you actually want the motion, blur of like, I want my hand to not look choppy. But if I change it to, let's see, let me up the shutter speed to like 1,000th of a second. And now you can see that I get little snapshots of a hand instead of motion. And now if I go and yank this around, it's not blurry, it's a bunch of snapshots. So that is a big difference there. And if I crank the shutter speed way below normal, this is a 1/4 second now. Now I'm moving my hand and it's like really blurry because my shutter speed is so low. So if you're seeing that, try increasing your shutter speed. Generally, the rule that you want is your shutter speed to be twice your frame rate that you're streaming at. So if I'm streaming at 30 frames a second, I should set my shutter speed to 60 frames a second, because then when you have this motion, it essentially makes it look continuous. So it's hard to describe. That's not a good way to describe it. You want the continuous, like you want your hand to look like it's everywhere. You don't want it to look like a bunch of snapshots put together. So if you have the shutter speed set to half or twice the frame rate, then you get that effect, which is nice. Another issue could be the bitrate of the stream rather than the shutter speed of the camera. That is also true. If you're trying to cram a stream into a bitrate that just isn't enough to encode what you've got, then you'll start getting weird artifacts as well. So this, let me get this back onto the teleprompter so you can see it. The web presenter is showing me the bitrate that it's encoding at, and I've set it to the streaming high setting, which is 6 megabits, and it's going to try to keep it around 6 megabits. It's not constant because it is a variable bitrate encoder. But if I switch between this camera and let's say my super source, where I've got a lot more flat areas of the picture that aren't changing, the bitrate drops because it doesn't need as much data to encode that. So it is using less data. But if I try to tell it like, oh, please encode this at 1 megabit, then it's at 4 right now. So the you can see it's at 4. It's going to go back up as I switch to this camera. So it wants 4 to 6 megabits to encode this stream right now. And if I try to tell it to use less, it's going to have to sacrifice something. And that may be frame rate. It may be compression artifacts. It may be it'll start, removing stuff that it is so that it can get it down to that bit rate. So that is very, very possibly another issue. And then Professor follows up with in-game camera, not face camera. Oh, well, that's a whole different story. In that case, it probably is the bitrate one because we just got a nice little demo that didn't have anything to do with your question. Sorry. But if you're talking about the in-game camera, then it's not really a camera. It's just a video feed. And if you're getting blurry or weird artifacts on that, then it's possible that it's trying to use less data than it really needs to encode that. When you're recording to ATEM Extreme, what device do you write to? Oh, and you asked earlier up here, similar. I have recorded to some thumb drives before, mainly just as a test. I don't recommend it. They're usually not fast enough. And normally I write to the Samsung T5. That's the one. Samsung T5 or the SanDisk SSD. And those are both. Blackmagic actually has a list of like supported drives, which they've done testing on, which is definitely the ones to go and look at. So if you go, where is this? It's on the ATEM page. It's somewhere in here. There is a supported devices list. Oh, it's probably in the support tab. And then we go to ATEM, and then we go to, oh look, they updated it in November. ATEM Mini Pro supported drives. Here's the list of devices they officially support. And it doesn't mean that other things aren't supported. It just means that these are the ones they've actually tested, and these are probably the best options. There's a lot on here, a lot more than the last time I looked, which is good. These are the ones that I've used. The Samsung T5 and the SanDisk Extreme. I think I actually have the 2 terabyte, which is not on the list, interestingly, and neither is the 512 or 2 terabyte Samsung. But those seem to work okay for me. Those are the ones I end up using, those 2. But that's a lot more to choose from than I thought, which is nice. I would just go look up that. Here, I'll drop that link in the chat too. Oh, I'm not in the chat. There it is. Okay. Roland asks, do you know if the software updates for HyperX, which support mixed video formats for playout, is ever going to make it out? It's taking a long time. Did they actually confirm that was happening? Because I don't remember hearing that was actually confirmed. It is a little bit frustrating, but I also get it, and I don't really mind it, I guess, that it locks into one video mode. Oh, here's a suggestion. You can set up SSHD and ARM-S to allow remote logins prior to local authentication, but requires some extra dorking around. File Vault could also be the thing. I think I disabled File Vault. I think I had to disable it the first time I turned on auto login, if I remember correctly. I think it actually made me do that. It was like, oh, you can't use auto login if File Vault is enabled. Am I remembering that correctly? Yeah. Because I definitely, when I installed this computer, I definitely did have File Vault on, but now I don't because it made me turn it off. Cool. Can a 12-week-old kitten be a stand-in gremlin? Did you get a kitten? Oh. We need pictures. I hope you share your kitten on your stream. Cliff asks, with respect to audio, does the Extreme have higher fidelity than the Mini Pro? I teach and perform music. I don't have a 100% confident answer, but I'm about 98% confident that the audio features are the same, exactly the same in both. I don't think there's any difference. I think what they did is they essentially just like doubled up the hardware that's inside of the device, but everything is the same in terms of like versions of stuff. That's my suspicion. So I don't think there's any actual difference. Jules says, can a Raspberry Pi be configured to run 2 Stream Decks with Companion? Yes, it totally can. Actually, mine is doing that right now. The Raspberry Pi I'm using right now is connected to 2 Stream Decks. How can I show this? Oh, I can show you on the Companion page. When you plug 2 Stream Decks in, they both show up under Surfaces. So you'll see that you end up with 2 different serial numbers of the 2 devices you got plugged in. And then if they're plugged into the Raspberry Pi, the way this works is each one acts totally independently. So like the pages are not on the Stream Decks. The pages are in Companion. So they all share the same set of pages to navigate to, but they can be navigated to independently. So I can have this Stream Deck on page 1, and then I can have my other Stream Deck on page 2, and I can navigate them separately. But they are like the pages exist in the software itself, not on the device. If that makes sense. But yeah, totally works. Totally works. I think you are going to hit a limit at some point if you try to plug too many in, just because it takes bandwidth to communicate with those and push all the graphics to them. But 2 of them has been working totally fine for me. Okay, then here's another question. I'm having an hour presentation at a live event. The host will stream to YouTube. How can I stream with the ATEM Mini ISO and StreamYard to the host destination and my YouTube channel simultaneously? I'm a little bit confused about the end goal here. You want to stream to the host's YouTube and your YouTube. So StreamYard can stream to multiple platforms. That's probably the easiest way to do it. If you're already in StreamYard, you can set up multiple destination platforms in StreamYard. Definitely the easiest. But if you are streaming into StreamYard, you're not using the ATEM's streaming encoder because you're doing it from a computer, which means your ATEM could also stream somewhere else if you wanted to. So that's the other option. Hopefully that helps. I'm not totally sure what the end goal of that setup is. All right, I think we're running out of time and running out of questions. If I missed any, I'm sorry. Sometimes the chat just scrolls by really fast. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining. We're going to call this a day here, but I do want to mention there are only a few things left in my used gear catalog. I have managed to clear out most of it, so only a few things left, and anything that is left I'm going to drop again right after this. Drop the price again. Looks like I have the Focusrite still, and I think that's the last one. There's one more thing. Did I just forget to list one of them? Wow. All right. I think I forgot to list one of the items. I'll get that posted too. Anyway, this was a fun experiment. I hope everybody who has bought my used gear is enjoying it, because it was mostly just sitting in a box, not doing anything. And hopefully that has a new life. And yeah, the other thing you can find here while you are on shop.nrpk.tv is my ATEM Mini stands and YoloBox stands and the new YoloBox Cage, which I featured last week in the stream. So had fun putting together that rig. This is actually one of the videos I'm doing this week, so hopefully that'll be coming out soon. Doing a video about the whole rig and all the different pieces that you can attach to it and things like that. Been a lot of fun. I will be using this very soon on a stream again. I used this last week, but I'll be using it again soon because I have some more opportunities coming up to stream from the field, stream remotely. So that's why I've been scrambling to set up my auto login on the Mac and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But other than that, yeah. Thanks everybody for joining. Thank you for the questions. Good to see the background hasn't been trashed this week. Yeah, this wall is nice. I'm keeping this wall. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks. Oh, Dr. Matt has a quick question. I loved your camera switching with the ATEM macro video. Can you program fades instead of hard cuts? Absolutely. Instead of pressing the cut button, press the auto button and then put that into the macro. That's my quick answer. Smash those like and subscribe buttons. Please do subscribe because, again, like I said, I'm going to be popping up soon, sometime in the near future, with a stream in the middle of the week at a time that is not my normal time. And I may not give you much notice. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. But also importantly, go subscribe to my email newsletter. I just dropped a link in the chat, but it's also available on the website, aaronpk.tv. Drop in your email, and then that will send you an email 30 minutes before I go live, which should hopefully be enough chance to find a place to grab headphones or whatever, grab some coffee, and tune in. Because yeah, I'm gonna do a non-normal live stream soon, and I'm not going to tell you when because mainly I don't know exactly when it will be until I have got things set up. But yes, otherwise, thanks everybody for joining, and thank you for all of the super chats. Thank you for all of the questions. Thanks everybody for hanging out in the chat and helping answer questions that I have missed. I saw there was a lot of good discussion happening there, so that's always nice to see as well. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I'll be back this time next week also. Again, with the daylight savings time nonsense, it's going to be the wrong time for Europe and Australia, but it'll be, again, sign up for the email because then it puts the time directly in there and you get it at the right time. And yeah, thanks, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye.